How's it going, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new and updated deck profile for Earth Machines or Dozer Control, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. It's just the deck with the big, heavy machinery in it. And really excited to bring you guys the updated profile. Not only have I been just enjoying the hell out of this deck, but it's been yielding a lot of competitive success for me, which is really, really nice to see. This past weekend I did go to locals and actually ended up getting first with the deck. And the week prior to that I actually ended up getting fourth. I've also won a box tournament with the deck and another online locals as well. So it is really nice to see that this deck is, yielding some great results. And I'll talk specifically about some of the changes that I made between that fourth and first place finish and why I think they're very, very helpful to the deck overall, as well as discuss some sort of new techs and strategies, to face some of the problems the deck is running into in the newer format. Obviously, we lost Calamities. I played the card in here for a very short period of time, played it most of the time without it, so it really doesn't feel like a huge loss, and it really sucks to see some of the people leaving the deck behind because it can no longer make Calamities. I think those people are just severely missing out on what this deck is capable of without it. So really happy to dive into the profile. And speaking of profile, there are going to be some changes to how these profiles are going to go from now on. We'll still have a quick deck profile for those that just want to screenshot and get out. And I'll have some detailed explanations afterwards, but I'm just going to keep it to a bare minimum. So if I miss some information, if you guys still have any burning questions about the deck as a whole, feel free to leave comments down below, and I'll try my best to answer them as soon as I can. And one thing before we get into the profile, obviously if you guys are buying anything on ImperiumDuelist.com, link to their site below. Don't forget to use my discount code WinterKills10 off at checkout, because you'll save 10% off your entire order and support the channel in the process. And speaking of Imperium, there's still some of these mats available on their site, I believe. There's a very limited number left, and once they're gone, they're gone. So if you want to grab one, I'd recommend doing it sooner than later. It's an absolutely gorgeous mat. The material is incredibly soft and very, very high quality, and the artwork on it is just incredible. So if you guys want to pick one up and support the channel, I recommend doing it. And if you guys have any videos on your channels uploaded of you guys using the mat, feel free to tag me. I know some people have already done that. Or tag me on Twitter with a photo of the mat, or in Discord. Let me know. I'd love to see you guys repping this beautiful playmat. And also, if you guys are buying anything on TCG Player, don't forget to use my affiliate link down in the description below. Alright, so let's do a quick rundown of the entire main, extra, and side deck. Alright, so now we're going to go through the monsters here, just one by one. First things first, we have 3 Infinitrack Harvester. It's basically just like the Stratos for the deck for Infinitracks. One of your 12 starter cards here in the deck. Harvester, Heavy Forward, Cruncher, and Redeployment being your starters. This is just one of them. So yeah, when it's normal or special, you get to add an Infinitrack from your deck to your hand, but also has a nice level manipulation effect where it can target another machine, and then that machine and Harvester, they both become, their levels become the combined levels of those 2 monsters. So you actually use that effect quite a bit to go into rank 9 plays or even rank 6 plays. As you saw in the extra deck, we are on 1 Beatrice, so 3 Harvester, pretty self-explanatory. Then we have 3 Dozer. It's one of the main reasons, obviously, why this deck is referred to as Dozer Control, is because of this card right here, Infinitrack Brutal Dozer. One thing you'll notice too is all of the level 5 Infinitracks have the same summoning condition, where they have to tribute an Earth Machine to special summon themselves from hand, and tributing that Earth Machine is cost. But yeah, so all the level 5 ones do that, but all the littler ones don't. They're just like normal summons. It says you tribute Earth Machine, summon it from your hand, and then if this card is summoned from the hand, you get to special summon Infinitrack from your deck, but negate its effects, and then you cannot special summon monsters the rest of the turn except for Earth Machines. So this card enables you to pretty much tutor out any Infinitrack you need. And let's say you summon out a Harvester off of it, right? Harvester's negated, but there's a lot of things you can do with this deck to get things into the graveyard very easily via your Link 1s mainly. So you can just link it off and then use a card like Trencher here to bring it back to get its effect. And then you can modify levels there if you want to make other Exceeds plays. But you can also use this to get direct access to our rank 5, which is Riverstormer, which I think is like the best Exceeds monster in the deck. So basically like a 1-card rank 5 or whatever you need it to be. And then we have 2 Trencher, your main summon target off of Dozer. You're pretty much going to resolve Dozer every turn. And your turn 1 plays are pretty much always going to either be summoning Trencher or you're going to be summoning Tunneler. I think 2 is a good amount just because like you don't want to draw this card really. Like drawing this card is not that good. But you also don't want to just have 1 in the deck because you will go through these very, very quickly. So having an extra copy in the main deck just gives the deck a little bit more longevity, help it have a stronger turn 3. All of the cards in this deck can be recycled very, very easily, but this one specifically alongside Tunneler, these guys remove themselves from the graveyard, so they can't be recycled by Tunneler. So you have to rely on a different method to recycle them. So having at least an extra copy of this in the main deck for that graveyard recursion that it offers is really, really strong. But you basically just banish from the grave as cost, and then you target level 5 or lower Infinitrack in the grave and special summon it. And its effects aren't negated whatever it summons, so really good, strong like graveyard extender. And then 1 Tunneler, basically like an in-engine Pot of Avarice. I'll zoom in a little bit here. In-engine Pot of Avarice, basically, and of course same summoning condition, but you can banish it from the grave, then target 5 Earth Machine monsters in your graveyard as cost, then shuffle them into the deck and draw 2. So that effect is so insane. You can resolve it almost every turn, so long as you're seeing your overdrives to be able to put this back into the deck, because once this removes itself from the grave to recycle, the only way to get it back is via overdrive, which is one of the traps we're playing. But yeah, you don't want to play multiples of these. Drawing this card is not ideal. Yes, you can still play combo with it in hand, but you would just rather get to it in a standard way, and not have to draw into it. So Tunneler, and then the last Infinitrack I'm playing is just 1 copy of Anchor Drill. It's like a niche extender. Sometimes like you can, if you open this in Harvester, you can normal this, then summon the Harvester from the hand to get its effect Search. But like that's a little bit of an overkill, risky play. I mean, sometimes it works really well because it gives you access to Beatrice, and Beatrice can give you access to Overdrive, or give you Citadel Engrave, or a Fortress, or a level 10 like Bullet or Derricrane if you don't already have access to them. So he can help you get into some nice plays. You can also help make rank 9s with him on any of your level 5 Infinitracks, because he does have that same level manipulation effect that Harvester has. So yeah, just 1 drill. You're usually going to be searching this off of Ancient Gear box for turn 3. And then it allows you to get a nice rank 8 follow-up for Dingirsu to help apply more pressure. So yeah, 1 Anchor Drill. One thing I want to touch on real quick with Tunneler. I mentioned that it's basically like an engine Pot of Avarice, which it is. But one thing you have to pay attention to is the wording on this card. Pot of Avarice says shuffle all 5 into the deck to draw 2. This card just says shuffle them. So let's say your opponent DD Crows one of your targets for Tunneler. It doesn't make it so Tunneler can't resolve. It just makes it so one of the cards that you want to put back just gets banished instead. You'll still be able to put back just the 4 and still draw 2. So just a ruling thing I figured I would bring up. So now we'll go into the other engine here, one of the other engines in the deck. And that other engine, of course, is the Machina engine, which is where another one of our starters lies. And that is Captain Crunch. Crunchitize Me Captain, Machina Metal Cruncher. This card is a really, really solid starter card. Basically like Stratos, but for just your entire deck. Because it says if you control no face-up cards, you can normal summon this card without tributing. But its original attack becomes 1800, and then if this card is normal or special summoned, you can reveal 3 Earth Machine monsters from your deck, then your opponent randomly adds one of them to your hand, and you shuffle the rest back into the deck. So it doesn't like search just Machina cards, kind of like how Harvester only searches Infinitracks. This can literally grab any card in your deck, and if that card itself is a 3 of, it's basically a guarantee. And most of the time, you're either going to be revealing 3 Harvester or 3 Dozer off this card, and again, it's just always a guarantee. Or you could reveal 2 Derricrane and a Bullet and basically get a nice level 10 extender to the hand, where you could reveal a double Fortress and, pretty much almost be guaranteed to get it. So yeah, just good for consistency. The only thing that sucks is like drawing this, like mid combo off of Overdrive kind of sucks because you can't do anything with it, or drawing this late game while you have things like Heavy Forward already in play, because then you can't really do anything with it then. But at that point, with it being a level 9, it just becomes discard fodder for your Machina Fortress. And you can also summon Cruncher off of Overdrive, which is kind of nice. Next up, we have 2 Machina Fortress. Speaking of, yep, 2 Machina Fortress. I was playing 1 on the previous week's locals where I got 4th, but I have since bumped to 2. Just because, like, this card enables so much. It's such an incredible extender. And the fact that it'll just allow us to become, like, an infinite, like, thing for, like, discarding, essentially is just, like, so overpowered. You can just discard your Infinitrax to the grave to get their effects and set things up for Trencher, or set up a Citadel or a Bullet. Like, it just becomes such a very, very potent card. And it's also a mainstay card in the rank 9 combo. You'll be pitching this and Harvester to the grave to summon it out of the grave. And yes, you can pitch Fortress. Like, for example, if you have just a Fortress in hand, you can pitch Fortress and Harvester for its own effect and summon it out of the grave, because it's all one effect. You don't send, like, any cards for cost. It is not an activated effect. It's just a summoning condition. So your opponent can't chain to it either, which is really, really nice. Very, very solid card. They have to do it like they'd have to do something preemptively to deal with this card. But its other effect is, well, I'll read its first effect for those that don't know. You can discard machine type monsters whose total level is equal 8 or more to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. And that is not a once per turn. And it says when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, select and destroy or target and destroy 1 card your opponent controls. And when this face-up card you control is targeted by an opponent's monster's effect, look at your opponent's hand and discard 1 card from their hand. So, like, this is also just, like, a lot of things for the opponent to have to deal with. If they target it, if they destroy by battle, you just get to punish them for it, which is kind of nice. I've been really enjoying the 2 Fortress, and I think I'm going to stick with 2. I don't think I'd go with 3, just because this card is also searchable via, like, Cruncher or your redeployment. But just, like, playing 1 extra copy just to see it in the opening hand just a little bit more has definitely been nice. Machina Citadel. Some decks literally just fold under this card, being a reoccurring, like, Raigeki for the opponent to have to constantly worry about. And some decks just can't really play around it based on the nature of their deck. Like, one deck specifically is Altergeist, just has such a hard time dealing with this card. And it's also a level 10, so you can use it to make Xyz monsters. But it says, quick effect, you can target 1 machine monster you control as cost, destroy that monster, and all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to it. If a face-up Earth Machine monster or monsters you control, except Machina Citadel, is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only activate, or only use each effect of Machina Citadel once per turn. So if a machine you control is destroyed, Earth Machine, whether it's by you or your opponent, and the fact that you can trigger it yourself, too, is really important. It'll come up later on when we talk about some other cards. But you just get this out of the grave, and then all of a sudden it becomes a board wipe for anything 3k and under. And again, a lot of decks will have a hard time dealing with this. It just adds to the incredible amount of removal that this deck can set up during the opponent's turn. It's searchable. It's an amazing in-engine card. It's very easily gotten off of Overdrive. In fact, if there was more of a consistent way to get to Overdrive on your field, like in your turn 1, like if you could play like 6 copies of Redeployment, the deck would be a lot better than it is, because having a Citadel setup is just so important for the deck. It gives the opponent a huge roadblock to worry about, especially combo decks. You just wipe their field mid-turn, and they just have such a hard time recovering. So yeah, next up we have the Train package. Just 2 Derricrane and 1 Bullet. I know the common theme right now is to just do 1/1, which I think is okay, but like Derricrane is so good. Like, it's such an incredible card. I like ending on boards with number 81, because I feel like it gives the deck just much more of a presence. Otherwise, you're just ending on Knuckle and maybe a trap or 2 if you're lucky enough to draw one. And you don't always want to assume you're going to draw a trap, because like that's just not how it works. And I wish you could always draw like an Overdrive or something, but again, that's just not how it works. So I want to increase my chance of seeing a Derricrane in the opening hand. yes, you can always search Bullet Train, but you're never going to search Derek Rain. And if you open either of these cards, it just makes it so you can search whichever one you don't have off of your River Stormer to help complete a rank 10 at the end of your turn. And I'll take ending on a number 81 with a Derek Rain underneath it over not, any day of the week. It just makes the deck so much better. And finding a Derek Rain late game and being able to draw into this card just like gives you so many more options in terms of like removal and breaking opponents' boards. It just makes the deck much more potent late game and helping to close games out. And your rank 10 engine is more than just like securing number 81. It's more than just like OTKing with Juggernaut Lieb and Gustav Max. It's like getting these huge bodies on field that can deal with cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which otherwise you really have to bank on an Ice Dragon's Prison going through. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to deal with it. So like, yes, you could just limit yourself to 1/1. But I just don't like the fact of trying to have to worry about drawing a one of either in my opening hand or mid combo to be able to end on a rank 10. I'd rather just increase that chance ever so slightly to be able to more consistently end on a rank 10, and also just give myself more chances and more opportunities to have removal in the deck and searchable removal at best. So yeah, that's it for the Train Engine. One Ancient Gearbox, just this is like a Garnet. Not really though. You can combo with this card in hand still, like put it back mid combo and still resolve its effect, which where its effect is says if it's added from the deck or graveyard to your hand, except by drawing, you can add an Earth Machine monster with 500 attack and defense from your deck to your hand. So we have 3 targets in the deck, first one being Drill, second one being Trencher, and the third one being the Tunneler, Infinitrack Tunneler. So a lot of cool things you can do with this. And a lot of cool setups you'll do is like Ancient Gearbox will get added back to your hand via Bullet Train during the end phase. And then it'll be a turn where you haven't used this effect. So end phase, you'll go add Box, and then Box will add Drill. And next turn, you can start your turn by normaling Drill, summoning Box, and then going for a Dingirsu, or a Photon Lord, or a Googly Eyes Gum Dragon, or whatever. You can go into a nice rank 8 play, which is really cool. And at that point, at the start of your turn, you're not locked in anything, so you can have access to pretty much any rank 8 that you need. Next up, we have 3 Ash Blossom for hand traps, just very good generic hand trap, and then 2 Go Spell. I've never played this card more in my entire life, so I'm still learning like how many things that this card can stop. It can stop Scarlet Sanguine, Nadir Servant, Praying Kids, Rocket Ride, Invocation. Like, it can stop so many things. DD Crow, Call by the Grave. It's such an incredible card. Like, I'm very much considering playing a 3rd copy. But yeah, the deck's already at 43 cards, so I don't really want to go any higher than that. And now we'll go into the spells here, which there's really short spell lineup here. Just 3 heavy forward, basically tanky for Infinitrax. But it has another effect though. It says once per turn you can target one machine Xyz monster you control and either attach it to his material or change its battle position. So that can come up to give you materials on Xyz monsters that have ran out of them, which is really clutch sometimes. And then changing the battle position too can be nice to get around how some of the Infinitrack Xyz bring themselves back in defense. You can just switch them to attack and close out games that way. And then I think like literally the single-handedly best card in the entire deck. Just resolving this card alone gets you so much. Gets you a hand rip plus a draw 2. It's like in anything you just get off of your draws or in your opening hand on top of this is just bonus. And it also gets you a card back to your hand in the end phase. Like, it's such an incredible card. It gets you so much. Discard a card and add 2 Machina monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. Or if you discard a Machina card, you can add 2 Machina cards with different names from each other to your deck, from your deck to your hand. So redeployment is just absolutely bonkers. Definitely need to play 3. And then speaking of cards that are bonkers, Triple Overdrive. I think this is one of the main reasons why I think the deck is so good, is this card right here. Normal Trap, so we can basically play 6 copies with Trap Trick here. But basically you target one machine monster you control as cost, then you special summon 1 Machina monster with a different name from your hand or deck, and if you do, destroy that targeted monster. So basically, you just target any machine monster, it could be Bullet, and then you summon out Machina Citadel, Fortress, or Cruncher, and then that card gets destroyed. But where the neat thing happens is, let's say you already have Citadel set up engraved, use this to destroy a Bullet that you brought back, maybe off Knuckle, you summon Cruncher, And then you can chain block your Citadel if you're worried about Ghost Belle, or you can chain block your Cruncher with Citadel if you're worried about Ash on the Cruncher. So you go Chainlink 1 Cruncher, Chainlink 2 Citadel, or Chainlink 1 Citadel, Chainlink 2 Cruncher. Now you get yourself a Search plus a board wipe that you can threaten against your opponent for anything 3K or 2800 and under. Really, really solid card. And then it gets even better. It has another effect where it says if it's in the graveyard, you can banish this card as cost. Target 3 of your machine monsters that are banished and or in your graveyard, shuffle them in the deck and draw 1. So this really helps the deck be super resource efficient. It literally allows you just like, you don't have to worry about losing any of your cards anywhere. If your cards are banished, you can get them back. If they're in the grave, you can get them back into the deck because of, Tunneler and Overdrive doing such a fantastic job just keeping the resource recursion, making the grind game insane. Yeah, so I love that card so much. I wish there was a more consistent way to get to it, but that's why we play 3 Trap Trick. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Turns where you don't have access to Overdrive are very underwhelming. And you just gotta hope that your opponent can, play a slow game, or they're playing a slow deck. Because if you don't have access to Citadel, it's gonna be a little rough going. That's why I think playing 6 copies certainly helps. And also having the opportunity to draw 2 cards mid-combo also helps as well. So yeah. Next up, we're playing 2 Ice Dragon's Prison. This is mainly just to outright Dark Dragoon and other cards that can't be targeted because the deck sometimes can have a hard time dealing with that, or cards that can't be destroyed by card effects specifically. So Ice Dragon's Prison, perfect out. And then next up, we have 2 EMR, Electromagnetic Railgun, or Rail Cannon. Tribute 1 machine monster, then target 1 card on the field for every 1,000 original attack with a tributed monster as cost. Destroy those cards. So we talked about Citadel earlier in some ways that you could like trigger that effect on your own. So like one thing that you can do that's really neat is like, let's say you just like have Citadel on your field, right? This is like a cool example. Let's say you already have a Citadel on your field, and let's say you also have like a Goliath or something. One thing you can do that's really interesting is you can activate EMR, tributing away Citadel to blow up 3 cards. You'll target, like, let's say your Goliath and then 2 of their cards. And then when this card resolves, an Earth machine you control had been destroyed, so you can just bring the Citadel right back that you just tributed off of EMR. And then threaten a board wipe again. You just already cleared 2 cards, and then you can clear several more with a Citadel. So EMR is really great, not only for being able to remove just like any cards. It can out problematic cards like Schism, just back or heavy decks with Tikaboo and things like that, Necro Valley, or Mystic Mine. So it's really nice having a main deck out to Mystic Mine, and you can also play off the card as well. Same thing can be said with Torrential Tribute. You can basically trigger this card whenever you want to with a card like Double-Headed Anger Knuckle, giving you like instant access to torrenting your opponent whenever you want to. And also get your graveyard effects going as well. And we can play multiple copies with Trap Trick. And I know some people are like, if you want to see Overdrive so much, why aren't you playing 40 cards? Well, like, I feel like the traps add very, very much to this deck. And I really wanted to play some other key traps in here that I couldn't really play at 40. So the main reason I'm playing over 40 is just to play more traps. Because there's really not many things else I can cut in the main deck. The only thing else that's definitely like cuttable in the main deck, in my personal opinion, is like cutting a Daracrane and maybe a Fortress. Because I think I'm like one of the few people that plays more than 1 Daracrane, and definitely one of the few that plays more than 1 Fortress. But I think more than 1 Fortress is definitely the way to go. And I've seen some other people say good things about it as well. But yeah, so that's it for the main deck. Extra deck we'll go through really quickly. Here we have 3 Goliath. This is the main link 1 of the deck. You're going to be making this card multiple times in a turn. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can basically reattach it to any Xyz you control, and if its original type was machine, can't be destroyed by card effect. So really, really great card. Ancient Gear Ballista to search out your Ancient Gear box. It has another effect that really doesn't come up, but you can use it if you have like a heavy forward left on your field. And then you can just target 1 monster your opponent controls, and its attack and defense becomes 0, which I guess is okay if you can't clear the board and you're trying to go for the OTK with Leeb, so it can be kind of helpful there. Double Knuckle. This is one thing I want to take a second to explain. I've seen a lot of builds only playing 1 Double-Headed Anger Knuckle. I think playing 2 is so incredibly important. Even on my stream last night, I explained why Double Knuckle is so important, and there was a situation that came up that proved why it was just so important. there'll be situations where you have access to, like, let's say you start your turn by using Stormer to send off a Goliath, and then you use Stormer to bring yourself back, and then Goliath reattaches. Get a search of a Derek Crane, right? You might have a bullet engraved because you usually always have a bullet. But let's say your Knuckle is engraved because you had to send it off during your opponent's turn to revive a bullet to give yourself good fodder for either an EMR or a Torrential or an Overdrive, right? So you're starting your turn, your new turn, with a Knuckle engraved. Sure, you can use its other effect to send any card from your hand or field to the grave to revive it. But if you do that, you won't be able to use its other effect because once per turn, you can only use one of its effects. You can't use both. And the other effect that will allow you to basically be able to assemble game is the first effect, where you can send any monster from your hand or field to the grave to target a level 10 machine monster in your graveyard and special summon in defense, but its effects are negated. So that's where having a second copy in the extra deck to be able to make allows you to accelerate that process, being able to trigger the Derek Crane in hand on summon, and then using its effect on field without using the effect engraved to bring back that level 10 to go into to Gustav Max, and then into Juggernaut Leap. So I think playing double is so incredibly important, and I will not budge on that unless something else comes out that is just so much better in the extra deck. But I haven't seen that card for at this time. So we're playing 2 River Stormer. This is I think the best card in the extra deck. Rank 5, Dozer makes it basically out just by himself. When it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can attach that monster to this card as material. But it says you can detach one material from this card to add an Earth Machine monster to your hand or send it to the grave. And then it says if this card is in your graveyard, you contribute a Machine Link monster as cost specials on this card in defense position. So the neat thing about this is once you make it the first time with Dozer, you really never need to make it again because any Infinitrack you're able to put on the board the following turns, you can just link into Goliath, use River Stormer to send Goliath to the grave. This will come out in defense, and Goliath will reattach itself, giving you material, and it also makes sure it, can't be destroyed by card effects either. And there's also been a lot of times too where I'll summon this card, and then the opponent will either clear it immediately or they'll drop Nibiru, which is really funny because most of the time when you summon this card the first time, you're going to have Trencher underneath it. So you just use Trencher to bring out Dozer, link Dozer into this, and then use the Stormer engraved to send the Goliath, reattach, and since you never got a chance to use its effect on field, you can just use it again. Or, well, not again, but attempt to go for it again and make them possibly waste more things on it. So River Stormer, super OP. Beatrice is one of the newest additions, mainly playing this card to deal with DD Crow and Shaddoll, which is a huge problem at my locals. I had 7 Shaddoll players the other day, and Winda and Schism is a problem, but so is Shaddoll Ariel. Being a triple DD Crow can definitely hurt this deck quite a bit, and also dealing with Hikaru. So being able to go into this can help counter a card like Ariel, being able to dump Overdrive to the grave to basically completely negate the damage that Ariel did. And you can also use this to side in Ariel to potentially, hinder an opponent's strategy like Drytron, for example, or Elish, and just banish 3. Or just get access to any other cards you need during your combo. And you can make this easily with Harvester and Drill, using their level manipulation effects. Next up, we play 1 Dingirsu for the 1 rank 8. You're going to be making this card with Drill and Box, and like I said earlier, when you add Box back to your hand, you're going to add Drill, which gives you a really solid follow-up in any rank 8. I just choose to play Dingirsu. I was playing number 90 Photon Lord prior, but I just did not have the space for it, and I really wanted to try out Beatrice instead. But I think Ding is a fine card. That non-targeting send is so huge, especially against a card like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, because Dragoon is just such a huge problem against this deck. And you can also attach your banished machines to it as well. And us playing back row 2 with Duster and Lightning Storm in the format, having access to a card like Ding in the extra deck is also very important to be able to protect the back row. Then we're playing 2 rank 9s, Earth Slicer and Enter Blathnir, the Pizza Slicer as I like to call them. If you open up Redeployment, you can basically make this card guaranteed and rip a card out of the opponent's hand, which is really good. And it also has non-targeting banish, so if it does survive the turn, you can just get a free non-target banish from anything in their field, or you can banish something from the graveyard, or banish the top card off of their deck face up. Such an incredible card. And then Earth Slicer is the Earth Machine rank 9 that we can make if we're locked under Dozer. Same effect as River Stormer, whereas if it destroys a monster by battle, you can attach it to his material, and if it's in the grave, you contribute a Machine Link monster as cost to special summon it back. What this other effect is that is unique to Earth Slicer is that you can detach any number of materials from this card and then target that many cards in the field and destroy them. So this is another example of how you can destroy your own cards to trigger Citadel and Grave, but Earth Slicer is great for mass removal. Then we have the Train package, the rank 10 package. These two cards basically just allowing you to go for game, Gustav and Juggernaut Lieb, and this is a very good wall up card to go to turn 1, especially if you can't secure the OTK. And last but not least, Zeus, because Zeus is insane. You can hard make this card with Harvester and Daracrane, and the opponent will not expect it 100% of the time. Because they think that like people forget that you can make it with 2 level 12s. They just think that you just have to slap it over like a Borbo, and that's the only way this card can be made, or a Downer Magician and like a Bird Up deck or whatever. But this deck can actually hard make this card, which is insane. And you can also give this card more materials with cards like Goliath in the deck, and also Heavy Forward being able to attach to this card. So you can give it up to 2 free extra materials, which is nice because it can give you an extra send to help slow the opponent down. Next, I'll run through the side deck just real quick because, side deck is basically dependent on your local meta. But just 3 Lancia, 3 Droll, Ariel for the Beatrice, 3 Forbidden Chalice because I am too poor to afford those Forbidden Droplets, so we got the nice budget option. Same thing with Dark Lure No More, very, very fantastic card, and 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster to help deal with those pesky back row decks and those people that just love Mystic Mine a little too much, to the point where it's almost a little concerning. But yeah, that is it for the extra main and side deck. Full deck profile for first place Machina Infinitrax, bringing home the first place dub once again. This deck is so underrated, and if you guys haven't tried it yet, I'd highly recommend doing so. It is so much fun. Been playing a lot on my stream, and I can't wait to do one deck 1 month with this deck as well, and make a guide video on it also. I know Aerosol TCG is another creator that covers this deck quite a bit, so if you want, check out his channel, Aerosol_TCG. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave your feedback and questions and comments down below. And also, don't forget to subscribe so we can hit 20,000 subscribers. We're getting closer every day. I've got a huge giveaway planned at 20K. We're talking sealed products, play mats, sign cards, the whole 9 yards. So do not forget to subscribe and share this with a friend who wants to play some heavy machinery. So yeah, as always, WinnerKill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And last but not least, of course, a huge shout out goes to all of the YouTube members that support this channel, and a special thanks to our Divine Level channel members, and they are Zors, Chatelax84, and Remtrox H. Thank you guys so much for your continued and very generous support of the channel.